Hey, I'm having a little malfunction here, but that's all right. Welcome back to Over the Next Hill Fitness Podcast. I'm Carla Coffey, your coach and host for today's program. Um, the podcast is sponsored by Coffee Crew Coaching as well as Hydro Patch. So if you're in the mood to try Hydro Patch, I do recommend it, and get on the show notes and get your discount. You can follow me on all the socials. Email me, carla@coffeecrewcoaching.com if you need a coach. If you would like to be on the show, it's another great place to find me there. Today, we're going to be talking to Julie Wyngaert. We had a great discussion after, of course, I was done recording about her Flying Pig half marathon and all the water and just the crazy time she had there. So you guys are going to really enjoy the show. It was a really fun discussion. So please follow, share, and rate the program after listening, and we'll see you at the end. Hi, Julie. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So let's talk running. How and why did you start running, or when? Tell us about your running.
It was a little over 10 years ago. I was 48 when I decided, and some friends of mine had been posting about doing 5Ks and everything, and I thought, I can never do that. I can't do that. I don't run. In middle school, high school, I weighed over 200 pounds. I literally dropped out of gym class with a note from my doctor saying I couldn't run because I had a bad ankle, and I would probably have been voted most likely never to get off the couch. But when I was 17, my mom died of cancer, and she was 50 at the time. So as my 50th birthday approached, I was like, I want to do something big. Well, what's bigger than running a marathon? Crazy idea, especially when one doesn't run. So some friends of mine have been encouraging me to do a 5K, and I was like, well, I guess if I'm going to have this crazy dream of a marathon in the back of my head, maybe I should start with a 5K. And I did Couch to 5K. In 2014, I signed up for a 5K every single month of the year, and did one 10K that year and thought, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get through this distance? It's just so far. I'm not going to live. I was so scared. And at that 10K, a little boy came up to me, and he high-fived me. And I almost started crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, he thinks I'm a real runner, and he's going to be so disappointed when he finds out I'm not. But the next year I decided, my daughter had run a couple of half marathons, and I was like, would you do one with me? And I thought, this is crazy. But we did it, and it was great. And afterwards I was like, okay, I've met all my running goals now. What else do I have to do? This is it. And so my niece, who is a track coach and a PE teacher, said to me, you've got to run a full marathon. And I said, Nikki, this is crazy because based on my time, no problem, just do it. And I was like, it is a problem. But I signed up, and I completed my first marathon at the age of 50 in 9 years ago.
All right. Well, I'm glad to see that you started with the 5K and worked your way up to the marathon distance and didn't just get off the couch and do the marathon. So that was good.
But at every stage I was just like, okay, this is it. This is the distance. I'm not doing any further. Because even though it was in the back of my head, I really didn't believe I could.
Yeah, and yet you did. So
I did.
Tell us about that first 5K. What was that like? Because that in itself is really a big step when you haven't done anything prior.
All right. I'd never even seen a 5K before, and I thought I wasn't at a point I could run the whole thing, and I didn't know that it was okay to walk. So didn't know what to expect. And then I got there, and I was like, oh, look, when we started, people were walking already. They didn't even start running. And I can tell you a funny story. I was running along, and I had stopped for a walk break, and this woman was dressed all in black, and she came running out of the woods, and I thought, oh, my gosh, it's a running ninja. And she's here to, I'm in trouble because I started walking. And I didn't know they had people in the course that would run out of the woods and yell at you for not running. Well, it turns out she had just gone in the woods. I saw a few minutes later she had her underwear in her hand, and she had just gone to the woods to relieve herself. And I was so embarrassed that I had thought that there was a running ninja. I started laughing, and then she looked at me like just glared daggers, and I thought, oh my gosh, this poor woman. And I can't explain to her what I've just gone through my head. So it was a huge sense of accomplishment. I remember coming home and laying on the couch all day going, I just ran a 5K. I can't do anything else. And just wiped me out for days.
That's great. So then you worked your way up to the marathon. What type of challenges did you find in the training for that? Were there any?
The running the longer distances, I had a couple of really great training books. I do Jeff Galloway, so I run walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was at the time running 2 minutes and walking 1 minute, and just trying to, number one, to find a place to do like 15, 16, 20-mile runs. I didn't have any friends that were doing that with me, so knowing I was going to run that distance by myself. I would have friends sometimes join me for segments of those long runs, but it's such a mental game. That's the hardest thing, is the mental part of it, I think. And I read this fantastic book that talks about when you start feeling like, I can't do this, that hill is too steep, my legs are tired. You immediately turn those negative thoughts off because your body believes what your mind tells it. So as soon as you see that hill, you're like, I can do hills, I can do hard things. And my feet are tired. My feet are not tired. I feel strong. And you just turn that around, and it's helped me not only in marathon training, but in life.
That's great. Yeah, that is so true, that your body can do a lot. I mean, just the fact that we give birth is amazing, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's a mental game for sure. And then especially if you do a race that's rather small and you're out there and there's not even any crowd support. Whew,
right.
That's a real mental game.
It totally is. And I've been in races where I just wanted to cry and stop and sit down and was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. But you just have to find that place within you that says, okay. The first half marathon I did with my daughter, and she would say to me, 1 more mile, Mom, and then you can stop. And I'm like, really? Because we're only at mile 8. And she's like, yep, 1 more mile, and then you can stop.
And she said that the rest of the way?
The whole way.
That's great. What was fueling like, learning how to fuel for the race?
It was an interesting process because things work differently for different people. I've got it down now. I actually like goo gels. It's got a texture of frosting to me, and I'm one of those people that can eat frosting and it doesn't. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to now. But at my first marathon, Big Newtons were my favorite thing.
Okay.
A little bit harder to carry, but they work great. So I think, figuring out, especially since I'm slower, I'm out there on the, if I could do this in 3 hours, then great. I wouldn't have to worry about fueling as much. But when you're doing a marathon in 6 or 7 hours, it's a different level of, figuring out what to eat before, what to eat after. My biggest mistake ever, I was on my way to a half marathon, and I forgot to eat. And it was in Atlanta, which is about an hour and a half for me from my house. And I thought, before, it was one of my first marathons, or my first half marathons, and I just wasn't that good about fueling ahead of time. So I thought, well, before I run a 10K, I usually, or even a 5K, I have yogurt and granola. So I'll just stop at a quick trip little gas station and grab something. So I went in and I grabbed some yogurt. Do not eat yogurt from a gas station before a half marathon. That is not a good idea. So I learned at that race to always, I have a little pocket first aid kit with me now, and I keep Imodium and Tylenol and Band-Aids so that we don't do that again.
Yeah, you live and learn, don't you?
Absolutely.
So, but you did finally figure out what worked for you for the marathons.
Yeah, for me, protein and carbs before. So I always do like a bagel with peanut butter, maybe some peanut butter jelly, and then during the marathon, I usually do a gel at mile 8, and then another one somewhere before mile 20. And I've only done 4 marathons, and a couple of them have had donuts on the course, and that's like awesome.
Yeah.
So
I've never had donuts on a course yet. That'll be exciting if I ever find one that does. That might be what gets me there. And I laugh that you say only 4.
yeah,
Sometimes I only did 4. 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot of marathons. So congrats on that.
thank you.
Yeah. And when you said it takes you a little bit longer, I feel that because of that, it's more of an endurance sport. I mean, yeah, people can get it done in 3, but if you're taking twice that, that's a lot of time on feet.
It's a lot of time on your feet, and again, I two of the 4 I ran with a friend, which was really nice. And the last one I did was Dopey at Disney, so
Oh,
it's the
wow.
5K, 10K, half and full. And at that point I was like, I'm breaking up with 26.2. I've done this. I'm good. I'm never doing this again. And then last year, some crazy runner friends and I were on a half marathon trip. We were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they said, let's sign up, or I know we were in California. It doesn't matter. We're in Dallas at that time because I'm running all 50 states.
Okay.
So sometimes
Great.
I forget where I am. But anyway, it was a weekend, and they said, let's sign up for the New York City Marathon lottery. And I said, I've done that before. I never get in, and I don't want to run another marathon. And they were like, oh, come on, because runner friends are worse than drug dealers.
They are.
They are such big enablers.
Indeed.
So, and being the person that I am, I was like, okay, well, if you're doing it, I'll do it too. Thank goodness it's not cocaine. And so I signed up for the lottery, and I got in.
That's great.
So I was like, okay, well, they invited me to run the New York City Marathon. It'd be rude to say no.
Right.
So I had to do it. So
Well, congratulations. So when was that? This past
I
fall?
thank you. So it was in November, yep, this past November.
Congratulations. I need to
So
rub knuckles with you or something because I've signed up and I haven't gotten in yet.
it was so out of the blue. I never thought I'd get in, and just it was the best experience of any race. It's spoiled me for every race for the rest of my life.
Wow. Congratulations.
It,
That's great.
thank you.
So
It was
that
amazing.
so you did New York for the New
Yep.
York State, so you're doing all 50. How who talked you into that? That because you say
You know,
because you said I've only done 4 and then you slowly say but I'm doing all 50 states. So you're on a journey.
I have done 75 half marathons,
Oh wow.
um, and I've just finished my 41st state. So I'm getting there. But when you hang out with crazy runner people, you meet more crazy runner people, and the more
That's
you
true.
find out. My friend that I did Dopey with, she ran all 50 states, half and full marathons,
Wow.
and so inspiring. And I have other friends that have done their 50 states, and just I was just like, you know what, that'd be kind of cool. So when I was about, I didn't start out to do it, but my first half marathon was in Florida. I live in Georgia, so there's 2 states right there.
Right.
And then my daughter lived in Philadelphia for 7 years, so I did the Philadelphia half marathon. And so it's just slowly, people be like, oh, let's go to Alabama and do a half marathon. So by the time I was like 8 or 10, I thought, you know what, I could do this. And so I
Yeah.
talked to my husband, and I'm like, this is a huge undertaking. What do you think? Because it's expensive,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to plan that time away,
Mhm.
and it's a lot, and he doesn't run, so I knew he'd go with me to some of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, you go on Friday, you run Saturday, and then you go to another state Sunday and run another one, and then come home, and so it's a lot, and he's so supportive. He is just so supportive. I'm so lucky.
That's
Um,
great. So you're doing all 50 states as half marathons, not as
half
marathons.
marathons. Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm
So
not.
Not that crazy. You're only half
Not that
crazy.
crazy. Half crazy.
So, with the dopey, did you actually do the dopey challenge where you did the 5, 10, half, and marathon?
I did. I did. So my friend that's done the halves and fulls, I said, this is something I really would like to do. She's like, I'd like to do it too. So we trained together. She's amazing. She's just so amazing. And we walk a lot, and definitely didn't, well, actually I did set my marathon PR with her. We did a marathon for training, and I thought, if I'm going to do a marathon for training, I'm going to get a medal, by golly. So we went to Kiowa Island in South Carolina and did a full marathon the month before Dopey.
Okay.
And finished just under 6 hours, so that's my marathon PR.
Great. Would you like to give your friend a shout out so she can hear her?
Her name is Kathy Davidson, and she is unbelievable. I just absolutely am in awe of her.
Very cool. So for those of you, the listeners who don't know, explain what that Dopey Challenge entailed.
So Dopey is at Disney World. It's one weekend, and you run the 5K on Thursday, 10K on Saturday, the half marathon on Saturday, 5K, 10K, and then the half marathon, and then Sunday is the full marathon. And it's you end up getting 6 medals because you get a medal for each day, and then the Goofy Challenge is the half and the full, and the Dopey Challenge is all 4. Wow. And honestly, the hardest part of it, besides training, was getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning every single day to get on the bus to go. And I have chronic migraines, and I had a migraine every single day of Dopey.
Man. And still did the races.
Still did the races.
Wow. So what was it like on day 4? Because you've run now every day, and now you got to do 26. What was like the pain or the fatigue? What was that like for you getting up that morning to take off?
Honestly, we trained to have run on tired legs. So a lot of the training was like 10 miles Saturday, 20 miles Sunday, several different times. And like before we did the full marathon, we did 10 miles the day before. And I followed the Jeff Galloway plan. So I felt so well trained and so on top of things. My biggest thing was that morning, it started a little early because it was going to be record heat. And so they started a little early, and I had the worst migraine. So I took my my migraine medication, and I literally laid down in the starting corral because you're out there for a couple hours before the race starts. I laid down on the pavement in the starting corral, and I told my friend Kathy, I was like, I would just need to lay down for 20 minutes. I'll be fine. And she just kept looking at me like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to be doing this alone. But I really feel like we were so well trained doing it the way we did. It was, again, a lot of it's mental, just knowing, okay, I've got this. I can't think about, oh, my gosh, how am I going to do this after all these other races? It was awesome. It really was. The hardest part was the heat. It was like over 80 degrees in the hot Florida sunshine with the sun shining on that pavement and reflecting back on you. It was probably closer to, like the ambient temperature is probably closer to 90 or 95. That was the brutal part. We walked a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's okay though.
Yeah.
Well, no shame in the walking game, as they say.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what has been your favorite race? Let's say favorite half. What's been your favorite half?
I would say there's a couple that are in the top, but one of my very favorites is probably the Detroit International Half Marathon. And it's just so much fun because you start out in Detroit and just the energy is unbelievable. And then you cross over the Ambassador Bridge into Canada. You run around Windsor, and everybody's just like cheering you on. The crowd energy is amazing. And then you run back through the tunnel underneath the lake, underneath the Detroit River, and come back up into America. And then you're running around historic Detroit and back to but it was just, I know, like, I grew up in Michigan, and Detroit's got such a bad reputation, but that city is alive and just the nicest people, great food, and the energy is amazing. So
That's awesome. Now, of the 4 marathons you've done, what was your favorite?
New York Marathon is hands down
Yeah.
my absolute favorite race of all times. It's there were 2 million spectators, which I can't even fathom. Right? There were 56,000 runners and
Wow.
2 million spectators. And somebody told me wear a shirt with your name on it. So I got a shirt that said Julie, just in huge letters. And you're running the entire time you're running. There are people yelling, Julie, Julie, and
That's
go,
great.
Julie, you got this. And you're doing high fives. And it was just, oh my gosh, you felt like a celebrity. It was absolutely amazing. Absolutely. I think everybody should do it.
Oh, everybody wants to.
If you get a chance,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. I wish I could say like I could qualify to get in, but I don't think I'm there anymore. But I
Yeah.
definitely go in for the lottery.
I never have been, but I mean, like if you could do a charity, I think it's worth it. Honestly, I would highly recommend. It is. It is. I read a book called A Race Like No Other, which is about the New York City Marathon,
Hmm.
and it truly, truly is. It's the finish line is open until 10 p.m. And so, like my race started at 11:30. They really want you to make sure they have a finish rate of over 90 something percent. It's incredible, and they want you to be. So it's and the crowd is out there the whole time. Because like I said, I started at 11:30. You know, the elites are starting at 7 or 8 in the morning. So by the time I got toward the end, it was dark, and but there were still so many people out there just cheering you on. You couldn't not feel that energy.
That's great. So would you do it again if you were given a chance?
I think I would. I didn't put in for the lottery again, but if somebody was like, "Hey, Julie, would you like to do this?" I probably wouldn't say no. I swore I was done running fulls. I swore I would never do it again, and then I put my name in the lottery for Chicago. Didn't make it.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm older. I'll be 60 this year, and I've been a nurse for almost 40 years, and so I've got a lot of like back issues and stuff, and ended up having to see a neurosurgeon, and so the 20-mile training run for the New York Marathon just about finished me off. I could barely put 2 feet, one foot in front of the other. Ended up having to go have an injection in my back 2 weeks before the marathon, and then
Wow.
4 days before the marathon, I had 4 trigger point injections. So it's it takes a toll. I don't think running is bad for your body, but when you already have like arthritis and bone spurs and things like that, it definitely it's not a pain-free sport by any means.
Yeah. And it really should be. I mean, as far as, I think I think there are ways for it to be pain free, but if you
Mhm.
have underlying issues, then I think that's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily hurt to run, but things that are already um, wearing out
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
you about it. So
yeah. Wow. Well, that's great. So, your husband isn't currently running with you, but do you think there's ever a chance you guys might be able to at least do a 5K together?
I would love to talk him into at least walking a 5K with me.
Yeah.
I I think he definitely could do that. He's had knee replacement, so he doesn't feel like he can run at this like that. But I think I could talk him into walking a 5K. I
Yeah.
think I could.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can sometime.
Yeah. My husband didn't run in the beginning either. He's doing his first marathon this year. So,
That's so exciting.
yeah.
Which one is he doing?
It's just one here in Wisconsin. It's one of the
Okay.
mainly marathons because they don't have a
Okay, yeah.
cutoff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
So
great.
they really are. They really are. I've done a couple. I did the whole string of them. Was it last summer or the summer before? So I could get some of my eastern states for my 50.
Okay.
And so where you can get like 4 in a row. And
Yes.
so at first I didn't think I'd like the loops, but I don't mind them, once you get
Okay.
going, because there's always somebody on the race course right there because you're passing everybody on the loops. So yeah, it wasn't bad at all. But yep, so he's going to do his first one
That's
this
so
year.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
So,
cool.
yeah, we're excited. Well, I am. I'm not sure how he feels about it right now, but
Well, especially during training, you're just like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever decided to do in my entire life. And then after you get done, you're like, oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah. When's the next race? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, he's so I'm his coach.
Okay.
I've been coaching him, and I told him the other day because he's technically doesn't have to start training when I started his training. Because as soon as he said he was
Okay.
interested, I'm like, okay, we need to start getting some miles, right? But I'm
Yeah.
building his base. And so the other day I happened to say,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
your actual training starts in a couple weeks. He's like, what? I'm not actually training right now. And I'm like, well, you are, but you're building a base. So but he wasn't very happy about that, but it happens.
If you have a base of like 10 miles, though, you can go out and do anything, and
Yeah.
you have to build it back up again, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So he's been getting miles in, so that's been great. And
That's
he
so
does
good.
most of them alone because he doesn't want to run
Okay.
with me.
Okay. Oh,
I've offered, but
yeah.
he doesn't like running with me. So whatever. But
It's cool that he's doing it.
yeah, I'm really excited for that. So what did your family think of all this running that you all of a sudden started doing? Besides your husband, who's very
Yeah.
supportive, what do the kids think?
They they're not very vocal about it, but um my son hasn't been to a race with me, but my youngest daughter's been to a couple, and my middle daughter's been to a couple with me. So like when I did Baltimore, my older daughter was living in Philly at the time, and she came down and spent the weekend with me. She slept in while I went and ran. We went out to eat and explored the city a little bit. My youngest daughter was a cruise director on a riverboat cruise out in Washington, Oregon area. So she knows that area really well. So when I went out and did Washington, Oregon, she went with me, and we did sightseeing together. And she was race support, and it was awesome.
Nice.
So, and the two girls both went with me to New York, and so they met me a couple of different points during the marathon, and cheered me on. And they met me afterwards with pizza and cheesecake. So,
Cool. What race did you do in Oregon?
I did Bridge of the Gods,
Okay. Have you done
and
Alaska yet?
I have not.
You should do the
Do you have a
Prince.
recommendation?
Yeah, Prince of Wales.
I've read about that one. Is that difficult to get to?
It is a journey. Um,
Okay.
so one thing I can say is when you buy your ferry ticket, make sure you include the car. And it's
Okay.
not worded in a way that would make you think you didn't include your car.
Okay.
But when we got there, we hadn't included our car, and it was and the ferry was full, and we were very fortunate to get the car on.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
But if you do that, I do recommend staying a few extra days on Prince of Wales. Don't go back to
Okay.
Ketchikan and stay in Ketchikan, but
Okay.
stay on the island. But yeah,
Okay.
it's great there. It's a great race, gorgeous area. I mean, just gorgeous.
And they like they're very personal,
They
right?
are.
They like cheer you on and they have like little things with your name on them and things
Yes.
like that. Yes, I've
Yeah.
read about it. I've like,
Yeah.
oh, that one sounds so good, but it's just logistically sounded like I didn't know if I could mentally go through all the logistics to get there. But
Yeah.
now you're making me think I need to.
Yeah, yeah, and I can help you if you get to that point.
Okay.
I can help you, and I can also recommend a great Airbnb to stay at. Yeah,
Awesome.
it was a phenomenal trip for me. We just loved it. We stayed, I
Okay, we'll
think, an
be talking.
extra 3 4 days on the island, and it was great.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely
we'll
recommend
talk.
it. Yes, yes, we need to hang up now so we can talk. So that being said, do you have any last words of wisdom for the listeners to get them off the couch, get them to set some goals, maybe something that inspired you that made you do it besides other crazy runners?
I think having friends that will motivate you. Know like when I was training for Dopey with my friend Kathy, knowing I was going to meet her every morning or the 3 mornings a week that we met, knowing she was there because a lot of mornings I'd just be like, no man, I'm good, but knowing that she was in the park already waiting for me, that got me out the door. But on days that I had to train alone, um, I know it's me and I have to trick myself, so I know this sounds crazy, but I would say, okay, look, you only have to go for 10 minutes. If you go out there for 10 minutes and hate life, then you can turn around and come home.
Yep.
I never did.
Yeah.
But just, giving myself that permission made it easier for me to get out the door. So I think that sometimes the hardest step is that first one. And so if you're sitting on the couch thinking, I will never be able to do a 5K, download the Couch to 5K app. I think there's one called Get Running that's got an Australian woman that says, you're doing so good, in this accent that I can't do. But get an app, make a logbook, get a calendar and put gold stars on it in the day that you run, and then treat yourself to something when you've done the miles that you have. Get a goal. But then just give yourself permission. Some days you have to rest, and that's okay. But if you're, like on the fence, tell yourself, I'm only going to do it for 10 minutes, and then you can come home if you still hate life. But just get out there and do it, because you're going to meet some fantastic people, and you're going to have adventures you never dreamed of.
Yeah, that's so true. Wiser words were never spoken on this podcast.
I'm sure you say that to everyone, but that's okay. I'll take it.
That's why I said on this podcast, on this show. I should have said this show.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Julie. It was great to hear your story, and we'll look forward to catching up and getting you some directions to get over to Prince of Wales.
Please. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Carla, for having me. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please continue to follow, share, and rate the program. If you're needing that coach, reach out to me. There's a button in the show notes that you can contact me directly. Share it with a friend if you think their story needs to be on the podcast. I'd love to hear from them. So thanks again, and have a great day.